Good morning. It's me, Craig, back out in the studio, the high dollar studio. Does anybody know what those are? I don't even know if it's picking it up good, but anyway, Christmas lights. Yeah, it's so festive in here. Come out, got some coffee, lit my candle, got my Christmas lights up and going. Yeah. Anyway, hope all is well with everybody. Um, got a, got a little story I want to share today. Um, I got. I don't know if I'll give the whole making money a break, but this is a different story. It's kind of funny. I ran into uh, a person the other day that I had to turn my heater up a little bit more. Um, anyway, ran into a person the other day that I'd gave their daughter a copper ring. Okay, one of my copper charms, and it's I do that around town and stuff, and especially if I see uh, um, somebody that looks like they could use some good luck and protection or something. I if it looks like their luck is down and they're having a hard time, um, I really like doing that. I like finding people that it looks like they're down in the dumps or anything like that because it's and I know it's not much, but if you can, and it's somebody you don't even know, but if you could come up with something. um I mean, mine works good because it's not like, it doesn't cost me a ton. It's just some of my time, and uh it's not anything that's hurting me to give them away. But I'll tell you what, I've got stories that go on and on and on about this, but um it was funny to bump into a lady at the store the other day. We live in a real small town, and um, she's got a job over, as a cashier at the grocery store. And I walked up, and my wife was with me, and we got in her lane, and um, she was wearing some of my copper jewelry, and I'd ran into her at a yard sale. I think it was her mom and dad's place, but um, she was wearing like a copper bracelet and stuff, and that's kind of how I got started in this, making bracelets. But anyway, she was wearing um, one of my, like, the necklace. It was the sunflower necklace, and she had a ring on her finger, and I was like, "Oh, I remember you. I gave you that copper ring." And she's like, "Yeah, at the yard sale." And I was like, "Yep." And I says, "I ran into your daughter. Um, she worked somewhere else. I can't remember, but ran into her daughter, and I'd given her one, and she was going on and on about how her mom uh, loves copper jewelry and stuff, and I think she was just going to give it to her, and so I gave her another one to give to her mom so she could keep one, and sure enough, she did, and I mean, this is probably a year ago, and she's still wearing the ring and sporting the necklace. And I don't know, man, it's just a great feeling when you when you make something. I mean, granted, it wasn't anything big that somebody's got to pack around with them or anything, and there's a lot of there's a lot of value to wearing copper. It helps with joint pain and uh, things like that, and so a lot of people pretty much have to wear it, to get the pain under control. But yeah, it was funny to run into her at the store, and I see people all the time. Like I say, I live in a small town, and I've sold my stuff here, and so a lot of people have picked it up, and uh, and they love it. it's um, it's one of them things that that just makes me feel so good. It makes me feel better than I'm sure it makes them. But it's it's fun to give them away. But at any rate, I was gonna say this is a crazy story, but uh, we've got our product all over the place, but down in California and up through Oregon, all along the coastline, and over at Jackson Hole, and over to Zion's and Yellowstone and places, kind of touristy areas. You get a lot of foot traffic going through, and they always have a bunch of stores, that sell trinkets and stuff like that, and that's a great place for our stuff. But we were going that day to take care of some of our customers, and we're heading north, and we're going up over uh, the summit, and in our car, and there was a guy on a bicycle, okay, and he had like saddlebags on it, and his whole life was on this bike. And I was like, wow. And he's on the freeway, and you don't see it very often, and so he stood out. Now, um, when we went past him, me and my wife were talking about it. We get up to the top of the summit, and then some. There was a few miles down the road, and um, we'd stopped at this place to have breakfast before we got on with our day. And when we got done eating breakfast, we were leaving. We walked outside, and here's that guy, and he's on a road bike. This bicycle, and he's parked, and he's got his bicycle leaned up against the front of the building, and it's a restaurant that has a gas station and a C-store, the convenience store hooked onto it. And anyway, he went in and he got himself a cup of coffee, and he went back out, and there was like a wooden bench and a table out front of the store. And he was sitting there drinking his coffee, and he was on his phone. Um, Looked like he was texting somebody, but um, anyway, he came out and was just kind of hanging out right there. And I was like, wow, couldn't even imagine what it was like going up over that hill. Um, but anyway, uh, I was I asked him, I'm like, wow, where are you headed? And he's like, I'm going to Alaska. And I was like, Alaska? I'm in Idaho. So, and he's like, oh yeah. He says, I started my journey, I think he said, in California. And he's going to Alaska. That's like his bucket list thing. And he was doing it. And he was probably, I don't know, he seemed to be about mid 30s, you know. Um, uh-oh, kitty wants in. Who is it? Hi, Dan. There he is. There I am. And so anyway, we were, you coming up? Come on, buddy. Um, Sorry about that. So anyway, I'd asked him, and he said he was going to Alaska, and I was like, "Holy cow, that's a trip." And he's like, "Yeah." And so anyway, I went to the car, and I uh, grabbed a one of my necklaces that has a pine tree on it. I call it the uh, midnight pine, and it's got some stars and the moon and stuff like that on it. Anyway, I went back and I give it to him. I says, "This is for this is a good luck charm that I made." And I says, I says, it's for good luck and protection. He goes, "Oh wow, cool." He says, "I love copper like that." And I looked down at his hand, and he had one of my sunflower rings that I'd made on his finger. Now he had this thing opened up. I mean, that's the way they work, and so it's you can, they're kind of adjustable. I wouldn't open them up a ton because they can kind of pinch you once you you open them up too big. But anyway, he was wearing one of my sunflower rings, and I was like, "Hey, I made that." And he goes, "Made what?" And I was like, "That copper ring." And he's like, "You're kidding." And I was like, "No." And he said that he had picked it up down in Zion Park. So, and that's where I've got my stuff. I've got a few places down there in Zion Park that, well, outside the park. It's not in the park, but the little town outside of Zion Park's called Springdale. And I got my stuff, in I don't know, 7 shops down that way. And so anyway, but that's 400 miles away from me. And it was just crazy that that many planets had lined up that day, that this guy came from California or some, you know what? I mean, I probably wasn't paying a ton of attention. And I wished that's one of them things in life where you say, man, I really wished I'd spent a little bit more time, uh, talking to this guy. But I'll tell you what, he liked it enough to purchase that thing down there. And when you're on a bicycle, every hair, every crumb in your pocket counts as far as weight goes. And this dude was 400 miles from where he bought that ring, and as a good luck charm. And he says that he trekked all the way to Idaho and up over that summit, and we'd seen him climbing the hill, and we went in and had breakfast and everything, and by the time we came out, he had just got there and got his coffee. And then I was like, hey, I'm going to give you something for good luck. And I went to the car and I grabbed one of them necklaces and gave it to him. And then I, I was pulling out. I was like, you're not going to believe this, to my wife, because I'd gotten her in the car. And she says, what's that guy? What's he doing? I said, going to Alaska. Anyway, we're pulling out of the parking lot. And I'd stopped and rolled down my window. And I says, have a great trip, man. And he's like, hey, thanks for that. And I says, show my wife that ring. And he puts his finger up in the air. It was on his pointer finger. And she's like, is that one of yours? And I was like, yeah. He says he bought it down in Zion or somewhere. And and she couldn't believe it either. And he's like, thanks so much, man. And I says, yeah, I mean, and that's as short a conversation as I've ever had with somebody like that. But, and, from that day, I wished I had, spent more time and talked to him, kind of see, like where he was from, why he was going there, and things like that. I didn't really want to bug him. He was kind of on his phone and everything else, but I did want to give him one of my good luck charms, and, because I set the intentions on all that stuff when I'm making it. So as it's being created, the intentions are already set. I'm setting as we go, and I don't cheat. I never do, and I put that time and effort and energy into that, and I just wanted to give it to him if he believed in it or not. And so anyway, it's my little story for the day. Um, but wow, I'm telling you, how many planets had to line up for me to even meet that guy, and then just to give him something that he had already bought from me. I mean, it's not the same thing, right? One's a ring, one's a necklace, but um, yeah, it still blows my mind. One of the coolest experiences I've ever had in you know all my years. There's been some cool stuff happen, but that was kind of, I mean, it's pretty profound how how everything kind of lined up. Anyway, I babbled on way too long, but a cool story. Wanted to share it. Hope you guys all have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya. There's Denny saying hi. Hi and bye.